With Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny now being released in most of the world, it seems fitting that we do an Indiana Jones Battle of the Ports. This is the 1989 release of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the action game, by Text. Oh shit. Why do I put myself through things like this? For those new to the channel, Text is a developer renowned for making subpar crap to complete and total shite. Which one will this game be? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the action game, as in the film, has you on a quest to find the Holy Grail. En route, the player must find the Cross of Corando, the Knight of the First Crusade Shield, and Henry Jones's Grail Diary. Graphically, this Commodore 64 outing isn't too bad, but sonically, it is dead. Seriously, there's next to no sound effects and zero music. The controls are also terrible, stiff and slow to respond. In fact, the main challenge in the game is dealing with the controls. The game itself is very basic, with nothing really going on. Overall, The Last Crusade is a very boring game that you will not want to complete. Let's hope the ports improve on this version. The ZX Spectrum version is next, and while it looks reasonable and even plays a little better than the C64 version, simply due to Indy hooking onto ropes easier, the game is still bad. There are more enemies in this version, but the ultra slow nature of the game and the incredibly laggy attack make this game more difficult than it needs to be. The collision detection is also iffy in places. In fact, take a look here. I'm trapped and can't get out. Bollocks. Amstrad CPC next, and sadly, but to be expected from Text, we have a crappy ZX Spectrum port. This is the exact same game, but now even slower. At least the digitized images look better on the CPC. Possibly only released in Spain, this MSX port from 1989 is also developed by Text. So it comes as no surprise that it's nothing more than a shitty ZX Spectrum port. But at least it's faster than the CPC version. However, at least the CPC version had music. This MSX version has nothing at all. Okay, moving on to the 16-bit home computers with the Amiga version. As you can see, there's a big step up in the graphics over the 8-bit home micros. I'm especially liking the digitized image of Indiana Jones in the bottom right of the screen. Sadly, that's where the good points end. The game is still a sluggish mess, with dodgy collision detection. At least there are a few more enemies in this version to spice things up, but all they really do is become annoying. Atari ST is next, and as you'd expect, this is identical to the Amiga version, but slightly faster, making for a slightly more playable game. Not a good game, mind you, just slightly better. Here we are with the MS-DOS version. I did actually expect this to be more in line with the Amiga and Atari ST versions, but it seems to be based upon the 8-bit versions more than anything else. Especially the C64 version, due to the way the rope climbing feels. Graphically, we can choose between 16-color EGA or Tandy modes, and there's a CGA mode as well. This mode we are looking at is the EGA mode. Time to head on over to the consoles. Systems that often put out a better version of a game like this, and yet the Game Gear port of Last Crusade is better than any of the ones we've played so far. Indy controls in a snappy way and moves at a brisk pace, but the game still sucks. We still have the blind jumps, poor collision detection, random energy depletion, and all round crappy gameplay. So yeah, it is the best so far, but it still isn't worth playing. Could we be in luck here? Teartext are not the developers for this Game Boy port. This comes from NMS Software, and they have improved on the shite Teartext dumped out on all other systems. Now we have better controls all round. You can now grab onto the ropes when falling. You no longer instantly die when touching water. The timer is far more reasonable than the Game Gear version, and we have different music for each stage. NMS Software have even thrown in some boss battles. Yeah, these suck, but at least they're an added extra. NMS have almost managed to polish a turd, but still, due to the base game, this isn't going to be an all-time classic. At least it is playable. While NMS Software did great with the Game Boy port, they were rather lazy with the NES version, since all they did was port the Game Boy version. Now this plays just the same, but look at it. It's the Game Boy game running on the NES. Oh well, still better than all the home micro ports. The Master System got a port in PAL regions, and as quite often is the case, the Game Gear port we saw earlier is based upon this version, but with a smaller viewable area. so it should come as no surprise to learn that this is identical to the Game Gear version, apart from the energy bar on this game seems to deplete even faster. And finally we can end this shit show with the Mega Drive version. Now this could be seen as a remake, but still a really shitty remake. The game may look better than all the other versions, but it plays like crap. Indy feels like he is weightless. Every time an enemy hits him, he bounces back with no invulnerability time. The jumping mechanic feels floaty and the collision detection is laughable. This is typical Teartex crap. It's unbelievable that company survived with the amount of junk they developed. And let's take a look at all those versions of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade running side by side.